All right, welcome to the Lockdown Podcast. We are flying solo again today. Just a lot of busy lives. So we are gonna run down Raw and SmackDown, um, and kind of lead into WrestleMania weekend. And so we're gonna kind of go down the build up of Raw and SmackDown. Just kind of go down the shows here and just kind of give my thoughts on these segments. So we start out with Raw. Rock kicks off the show, followed by Roman and the Bloodline. Um, and they're just jabbering their jaws like they have for weeks. And so after they're jabbering, Seth comes out through the crowd, smart, right? Not to walk into an ambush. He's not stupid. And basically challenges anybody from the Bloodline, The Rock, Roman, whatever. And Solo finally speaks, for himself and basically says, "Hey, you're fighting me." Seth says, "All right, you're on." So you know, uh, the Bloodline stuff is just continue to get a little bit stale. But obviously he wasn't going to fight The Rock or Roman, on free TV essentially. Um, And then now you have the New Day and DIY versus Judgment Day. Obviously, Judgment Day comes out on top. No surprise. So now you've been seeing for a couple weeks that Chad Gable's been trying to amp up Sami Zayn and kind of hone in, for the match against Gunther. Honestly, I like Chad Gable. He's very smart, very strategic. Definitely knows how to, get people amped up. And I think this is a good thing for Sammy to kind of break outside of his kind of get out of your head. So um so now you have Sami Zayn going against Bronson Reed. Um, okay, a regular match, and then, here comes Gunther interrupts and he basically comes from back, throws Chad Gable out on the floor. Sammy comes to aid him, and Gunther basically takes him out as well. So essentially, the Bronson Reed match was pretty much null and void. Um, I think Gunther's honestly starting to really, really, really get under his skin, which that's the whole point. So now you've been seeing kind of Ivy Nile trying to kind of, you know, help out Maxine Dupree, try to have even some form of a wrestling. Not, I don't know. Maxine Dupree is not a wrestler. That she's a Barbie doll, no wrestling. So, but and they face the kind of the new branded Candice LeRae versus Indy Hartwell. Pretty. These matches for females aren't really all that long, which is no surprise. But and Ivy and Maxine do pick up the win with a roll up. Um, so now you go into the segment with Drew McIntyre just kind of again talking about the match, with Seth and being in the funeral parlor and all that, jazz, which, has been used on wrestling television before, but we won't go into that. Um, but it's a good build, and I don't blame Drew for basically saying, "Hey, you're worried about the wrong people, and you're putting your nose in where it doesn't belong," stuff like that. But like, everybody's been dealing with a bloodline, and obviously the bloodline, you know, pretty much the whole roster is Bloodline's enemy. So again, just a nice little build. So now you have Ricochet versus Ivar. You look at these guys where it's like, hey, this is a really big dude. This is a really small dude. And honestly, they don't call Ricochet the highlight reel for nothing. Like, just a great match back and forth. And believe it or not, Ricochet wins. And I tell you, dude, the things and the mobility and the agility that that guy has is unmatched. Um, so now we go to the back with Judgment Day, and Dominic talks to Andrade and making a decision, essentially without the group's say on almost it just feels like they they're starting to see like Dominic kind of just wants to do his own thing. Maybe he's just speaking for the group, and you could see the faces on them kind of be like, I don't know, dude, I don't know what you're doing, but and so he's basically just like, hey, take care of my problem, and he's like, all right, I got you. So now after this Becky Rhea match is absolutely intense. Um, and so every time one of them comes out, the other one's coming out. And then we're gonna deal with a brawl. Um, Becky comes out and calls out Rhea. Adam Pierce walks out. I was like, no, wait for WrestleMania. Rhea comes out and yeah, and battles through security to brawl with Becky, and they finally let them apart, and then all of a sudden, 2 minutes later, they're in the back brawling still. You know, great build. For the match, definitely, it's definitely gonna be a banger. Um, so now this match, what I define as a filler match, really no point. Damage Control versus Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Tegan Knox. Nothing really to say about that match. I mean, it's cut and dry. Damage Control is not going to lose, and lose momentum before the WrestleMania match. Um, so the main event of the match was Seth Rollins versus Solo Sokoa in Bloodline Rules, which is probably how it's going to go Sunday night. You know, But and so it's this match is all over the place. So, you have a good match with Seth and Solo, going back and forth, this for that, and then here comes Jimmy, and you know, Bloodline anything is about as predictable as the sun will rise. So Jimmy comes out, gives Seth a super kick. And then Jay comes out and, defends him, and then they brawl to the back, and then within a couple minutes, probably like more like seconds, Rock throws Jimmy out, and then that ensues, and then Cody comes out, and he's about to rock bottom, you know, the Rock on the table, and then everybody, gets all the more interference. Roman's Superman punches Seth and spear to Cody. Rock takes off his belt, and they just basically beat the holy hell out of Seth and Cody. It was pretty brutal to watch. But that's pretty much how the show ends. Which, you know, kind of on a gruesome ending. So now we're gonna roll over to SmackDown. SmackDown kicks off with the KO show. With Randy Orton as the guest, which it's gonna be a weird WrestleMania match because it seems like Kevin and Randy are just kind of buddies. But when the bell rings, the Viper has no friends. Um, so they're talking blah blah about the match and how they basically hate Logan Paul, and then Logan Paul basically comes on the Tron to basically he's just literally next door at um WrestleMania, where WrestleMania is on the field. I think it's Lincoln Financial. And basically he's at that there, and then Kevin and Randy basically jump out, and then basically chase, they'll take a cart and just run over to, or drive over to the field. So, and that kind of segment kind of, fizzles out, it had Austin Theory and Grayson Waller kind of chase after them, and then the segment breaks. back to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Um, Definitely an eventful battle royal. Again for this year. Um, you know, once again, here comes Omos, and everybody's basically wants him out, and he actually ends up eliminating himself, which is funny. But yeah, and so it ends up with Bronson Reed and Ivar, the last two guys. So you got big and bigger, meat and meat. The last two, they were definitely exchanging blows. Ivar misses a basically over the head, off the top rope. And then Bronson Reed eliminates him. Bronson Reed wins the Honor the Giant Battle Royal. Congratulations to Bronson Reed. Um, Definitely, there's some mobile big guys in WWE, including Ivar, Bronson Reed, Otis, just some big guys that are, you can't sleep on them being agile and be able to move in the ring. Um, so now you have a segment that goes to the back, and the Final Testament basically just, man, Karrion Kross just laid into about the Philadelphia street fight between them and the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley for WrestleMania. And man, what a banger segment, what a banger promo, what just really just like amping up that match, and I'm definitely looking forward to that match. Um, so then after that, Logan comes back to the arena, thinking he's basically one upping, Kevin Owens and Randy, but he jabs his jaw like he normally does, but and then they cut to Austin Theory and Grace Waller being at the stadium, and they're like, I don't see him. I don't see him. We followed him. And then here comes Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, KO with a stunner, followed by Randy Orton with an RKO. Sorry, Logan. I hate Logan Paul. So now, just before this match was supposed to take place with Zelina Vega and Elektra Lopez, basically someone, obviously someone you know, from Legato attacking Zelina Vega, or not Zelina Vega, sorry, Dragon Lee, and injures Dragon Lee. So Zelina's got to basically fight her match, right after that, with Ray by her side, and then a new addition to, I guess the first fight of Elektra Lopez, and she's there with Santos. And then, they kind of slow down, and all of a sudden here comes Dominic and Andrade. Um, Obviously with, outside interference, go figure. It is the WWE norm to have outside interference, which just takes away from quality matches. But and so Elektra Lopez wins. And then they start beating down, Drew, or not, They start beating down Ray and everything, and then they think that, everybody's on their side, but then Andrade turns on Santos and Doms and saves Ray and reunites with Zelina Vega, which she was with for quite some time in NXT and WWE main roster. So it's definitely a cool, throwback. Definitely looking forward to. So they have a new match. Well, and not a new match, but a switched match. So now it is no longer Jay or it is no longer Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. Now it is Rey Mysterio and Andrade versus Dominic and Santos Escobar. So that was basically a last minute switch. Um, Definitely going to be a good match. So then you have, they're kind of doing a slow video package about, the Damage Control versus Naomi, Bianca, and Jade match. Followed by Naomi and Bianca Belair coming out talking about the numbers game. And then they're like, oh, but we have an equalizer, and you never guess who would come out. And so then obviously Jade Cargill comes out, and they just kind of cut a little, a little segment, and basically like, hey, we're just done with Judgment Day, which obviously, yeah, I don't blame them. So, or not Judgment Day. I am so retarded. Uh, Damage Control, but I hate Judgment Day too. But and so now you have basically Jay cutting a little segment talking about his match with Solo later. Definitely getting the yeeters, definitely getting amped up for the match. Um, so then now you have New Kites Republic versus A Town Down Under. Um, Good match, clean match until the end. Where so you basically had New Kites Republic wins in a clean fight, followed by Judgment Day coming out and beating down not only New Kites Republic but A Town Down to basically try to get any kind of extra leg up on the match for WrestleMania with the ladder match 6-pack challenge. So yeah, I mean I don't blame them. Got to weaken your opponents. So now we go to basically again another build for the build for a match, which was Bailey talking about how the development of Damage Control and then kind of the slow downfall of Damage Control, and not necessarily Damage Control on a whole, but more like you know Asuka and Io Sky and Kairi Sane basically kind of slowly talking crap about her, you know. And so it's kind of coming full circle for Bailey. You brought him into the main roster, and then they had to boot you out of your own group, which I feel like they need to change the name. But I'm not WWE, so. But and so now you have LA Knight comes out, cuts a pretty good little promo. A very it was only a couple minute segment, but definitely another build towards his match with AJ Styles. And then, so now you have the final match of the night, which was Jey Uso versus Solo Sikoa. Good match. And then, just like last week, what happened last week? Jimmy interrupts. Oh, wow. We're so surprised. And so, but this time Seth and Cody are ready, and they basically come out and they save the day. So again, kind of built, definitely a lot of tension. Um, yeah. So, that's kind of the Raw and SmackDown breakdown. We'll be recording again. Kind of going down match predictions for WrestleMania. And so, so we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with, once we've kind of finalized everything for Raw and SmackDown. So, peace.